Oh, here, let me switch. I got the wrong screen up. There we go. Hey, how are you guys? Let's see. I'm going to give you a couple seconds to log in. It says there's 8 people here, which is excellent. Looks like we got good connectivity. Hey, stream is healthy. Life is good. So, hold on. Good morning. Let's do a roll call. I don't know why I put a question mark there. Mariana's here. Leah's here. Hey, Leah. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, George. Good morning, Mariana. Hold on. Hold on. Give me 1 second. All right. There we go. Danitza's here. Chris is here. Paula's here. Man, it's like the who's who. Oh, and now all of a sudden I've got poor connectivity. That's no good. All morning it's been really, really good. Okay. That should smooth out pretty quick. Vanessa's here. Hey, while we're waiting, one of the things I really miss, other than letting you see my beautiful face, that's not true. Anyway, one of the things I really miss is like joking around with you guys and having a good time and all that. And so I thought I'd share a joke with you today. But yeah, Davey boy, you can watch. This is all right. This is going to be something you've actually seen before, but you maybe not be really good at it. So it's going to be good review for freshmen for sure. But anyway, here's what I was saying. I miss joking around, and so I came up with a joke, but I was going to share it with you, but not everybody would get it right away. But like the coronavirus, everybody will get it eventually. Come on, how is that? Angela and Francisco and Johnny. Mr. Crespo. Hey, what'd you think about that joke? Hey, Sasha, how you doing, neighbor? Well, you're not really my neighbor, but you don't live that far away, right? Let's see, today is, if you didn't know, today is Ruben's birthday, and on Monday, Omar's birthday. So that's pretty exciting, right? And I found some virtual goldfish crackers that I can send to them. So that's really fantastic. But just one. We're not going to get fancy. All right? All right. So what'd you guys think of my joke? Good, bad, what? Oh, yeah. Oh, Pedro's here. Let's see. Ruben. Yeah, hi, Ruben. Good. We're getting quite a few people in here. So here's what we're going to be doing. Jonathan. Hey, John. How you doing, Jonathan? How's things? Staying out of trouble? I hope so. So here's what we're going to do in this one right here. We're going to be going over the functions quiz for sophomores. And I spread some confusion among the freshmen. That functions quiz was for the sophomores only to do. They were required to do it. If you were a freshman, you could do it, and you can participate in this and follow along and ask questions anyway, right? So then, Omar, good morning. So a couple things I did want to talk about, some housekeeping things. We haven't gotten a lot of guidance or direction from the state as far as how grades are going to be happening and how you're going to get credit, all that kind of stuff. But I imagine that one of the things that we're going to have to do is we're going to have participation. We're going to have participation some way or another. And so I thought an easy way to give you guys credit for participating, an easy way to keep track of it is going to be like this. So in the morning, we have two video sessions, right? Hopefully every day. One in the morning was review, and the other in the afternoon that is introducing new material. So in the morning, what I was thinking is that's when we grade, and that's when we go over the stuff, and that's when you're turning in your things, all that, right? So what I was thinking is that if you just pop in the chat room, like you guys are over here, it's on my right, and you say, hey, I'm here, then I've got a record of who is here, I can give you credit. You just participate as we're going along. Any questions you ask. Also be aware that there's about a 30-second lag or so. So what I'm saying right now in real time, you won't see for half of a minute. You're happy to go back, and it might look kind of weird when you watch it in review later, but yeah. Anyway, Um, so if you're here in the morning to get credit, you just pop in and say, hey, I'm here, right? And then that's how you're going to turn it in, Johnny. You don't need to turn it in Google Classroom. You're just going to be here and you're going to say, hey, I graded it. And this is what I got. Now, if you can't be here at the time, like let's say that you can't be here during this time for whatever, your internet's down or, something happened, no big deal. I will post a link to the video and I will put it in the Google Classroom so you can watch it. And I'll even write down the time so you can skip through all the time we have to wait for everybody to show up and the introductions and all that. And anyway, so if you can't be here in the morning, you watch the video later, you grade your own, and then you have to send me an email or a message in Google Classroom about what you got, and you get credit either way. That way, everybody's covered, right? Hey, Eddie, how you doing? So, yeah, that's what we're going to do. So that'll give you an opportunity to get credit and get credit for participation and for the work you've done. Now, in the afternoon session, if you're there, hey, it's great. If you can't be there, then you're going to have to watch the video, read the materials on your own, and then try to figure out how to do all that, right? So, yeah. Hey, Alicia, I hope everything's going well. You got to give your mom, all of you guys got to give your moms hugs. They're probably tired of you already. I've got both of my brother-in-laws have children at home, small children, and they have both been like, oh my gosh, I am not used to being around kids this much, and they're ready to pull their hair out. So be nice to your mom. No, Ruben, you don't need to email. If you're here, you don't have to email me, right? So if you're here, I got a record of everybody that's here. So if you're here, you don't have to email me your score. You can if you want, or if you have other questions, then absolutely you can, but you don't need to do that because I got credit. So it's if you can't be here when we grade it, that's when you have to email me, right? Does that make sense? So if you're here during the live feed, you can just leave, in the chat, you can just say, hey, I'm here, and then you just participate. You ask questions as they arise, whatever. And if you can't be, then you have to grade it on your own, and then you just send me your score. Make sense? This is for the quiz for the sophomores. That's right, Eddie. But it's function stuff which you've learned, and so it might not be a waste of your time. You don't have to stay, of course. And it's all kind of honor system. I mean, you guys participating like this, it actually speaks pretty highly of your character and your understanding of the purpose of education. It's really about learning and developing your mind and all that kind of stuff. So Yuvia, no, this is just kind of new, Yuvia. This whole idea is new, and we're just trying to figure this out. We've never done this before, and so we're trying to figure out the way that it would work best for everybody. So that's what we're going to try right now. I think it's going to work out pretty good. So Alicia says, wait, so did you post this test and now we're grading it? Yeah, I posted this yesterday. I think. I better have. Let me check. I'm putting everything in the classroom stream. Functions review. Oh my gosh, did I not post this yesterday? Hold on, let me check. Maybe I put it in the classwork. Yeah, I did. So if you look under classwork, it's there. And you don't have to turn it in there, but it is. And I wish I had a way to do a screen capture with this software I'm using, but I don't. I have other software I can do that with. But it is there, Alicia. If you didn't do it, that's all right. You can look at it and do it now, then you can watch the grading later, and that's good for me, okay? Sasha has a question. She wants to know, can you get credit if you weren't in the live stream the previous days? Yes, absolutely. Just tell me how you did. And no problem. Hey, Hector, how's things? Hope all's well with you guys. So, just to make sure, I know this is kind of an ongoing joke at the end of, before we left on spring break. Just to be clear, especially if some of you, I think, in here right now are in my 6th period class, and we really talked about that being, kind of how we do it. So, just to be clear, here's how it's going to work. In the morning sessions, that's right, Danitza, we're doing the functions quiz. In the morning sessions, if you're here, you pop in the chat, say, hey, I'm here. You grade it with us live, and you ask questions, and you get full credit. No problem. If you weren't here, then I'll post the link to the video, and you'll have to watch it on your own. You'll have to grade it on your own, and then you have to send me an email, tell me how you did. That's it. Either way, perfectly fine with me. You get credit, and I think that's going to be as of right now, that's the best idea I can come up with, and I think it's going to be the best way for us to kind of have some semblance of normalcy here. If you have a better idea, let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have your ideas. So, Yuvia says, can we start the freshman material later? I woke up earlier. Haha. What do you mean, can we start so we already did the freshman stuff from 9 to 10 is when we're doing freshmen. 10 to 11, we do the sophomores. I have to be available for lots of meetings and stuff between 11 and 1. And then in the afternoon or earlier, I'll post the materials for what's new. Okay, and so sometimes that's just going to be like a video. It might not even be mine. Sometimes it will be a live Facebook thing. It just depends on the situation, okay? Does that make sense? So Yuvia, right now, if you missed the grading for yesterday's homework for the freshmen, you can find the link in the Google Classroom, and you can just fast forward to 14 minutes, and that's when we started. All right, so if there are no other questions, we'll get started. And none of you guys said much about my joke. I mean, come on, it was pretty good. It was currently relevant to the current situation. I don't know. So, Angela Hallman says, is the email just for quizzes or for all lessons? So, any homework assignment or quiz, we're going to grade together. If you can be here during the live stream of the grading, all you got to do is participate in the live chat. I know you're here. You're good to go. You're going to ask any questions at that time, right? If you can't be here for the live video, I'll post the video in Google Classroom. You'll have to grade. You have to watch it and grade your own, and then you have to email me. So if you're here, no email. If you're not here, like when we're doing it, then email. Ruben, you didn't hear the joke? Oh, man. Well, the truth is I didn't really have a joke because it was going to be kind of complicated, and not everybody'd get it right away, but like the coronavirus, eventually everybody'd get it. I know there's about a 30-second lag. Pedro wants to know, can I go to the restroom? As long as you wash your hands, Pedro. Pedro, how are you doing? You staying out of trouble? Going stir crazy? Things good? All right. There was the joke. Let's get on to the review, right? Let's see. It looks like there were, actually it was 4 pages. The joke was Johnny, why are you mean to the people that seem to help you the most? Yesterday, Johnny, you called Vanya a dummy, and Vanya helps you. Now you're calling Omar a joke. Omar helps you. Come on, Johnny, be nice. All right. Oh, man, epic fail. My pencil. I hate when that happens. Man. So, all's good. That's good, Pedro. I'm glad to hear it. You miss being... Well, this is interesting. When spring break was almost over, and they said, hey, we get another week of spring break, I was like, yes, I was super excited. I was thrilled. And then about halfway through, I'm like, going crazy. Yeah, the lag is awkward. I know, Yuvia, and I wish that we could do something about that. I wish we could have less of a lag, but that's what we got right now. That's best we can do. But it's all right. We get kind of used to it. It's our new normal, right? This is our new normal. So we'll make the most of it. I gotta get rid of that pencil. I got my backup pencil here. Once I get my pencil sharpened, I should have done this before. I just didn't have time before we started live feed. Once I get my pencil sharpened, we'll go ahead and we'll start the quiz over here, shall we? All right. There we go. All right, we're good. Ready? Here it is. So, Cambridge functions. Name. Let's see. Bearded Wonder. Oh, man, look at that. That's a good name. Bearded Wonder. All right. I can't go to the barber, so how much of a hippie am I going to look like? When this is all over. Oh, now Johnny wants to make up for Omar. Come on, Johnny. Be nice first. Okay. First one says f of x equals 0, and it says to solve it. So here's f of x. It says it equals 0, so I'm going to go ahead and just write it out. X squared minus 4x plus 3 equals 0, and it says solve it. Well, I can't use inverse operations to solve this because I have an x squared and an x, right? So I have to come up with something else. The other thing I noticed right off the bat is it's quadratic because the biggest exponent is 2, right? So if it's quadratic, maybe it's factorable. And it is. X minus 3x minus 1 equals 0. So x equals 3, x equals 1, right? And if you don't know how I went from here to here, all you got to do is take each factor and set them equal to 0. And then you solve them. And the reason you do that is because this is one number right here. This is a single number. It's a binomial. And it's being multiplied by another number, and the answer is 0. So if I multiply two numbers and the answer is 0, either one of those numbers equals 0, or both of those numbers equal 0. All right, so I wrote 15 there because that's the time when we started. Has to take pencils. Yes, Uvia. So Uvia. The reason I had to take my glasses off is because I'm old. And I couldn't tell if it was sharp or not this close with my glasses on. See what ends up happening, Uvia. This is true. This is true. As you get older, the lens of your eye actually gets hardened. And so then the muscles can't make it adjust. And so you start having worse eyesight. So my problem, my prescription stayed the same. So seeing distance is about the same. I actually really don't need them for most anything, except for really seeing this really clearly. And I want to read without having to squint. So I wear them for that, right? But it adjusts my vision up close is also adjusted the same way. And it used to be when I was younger, my eyes were strong enough to make this something close in focus. But now I have to take my glasses off. So I have perfect vision close without my glasses on, but at a distance I don't have perfect vision. Such is life. Mr. Brown, you get like 2 haircuts a year. Come on, work with me, Hector. Why you gotta out me like that? Why are you casting shade? Okay, let's get back to it, shall we? All right. Number 2 says find g to the power of -1 of x. Now that little thing right there, it's not actually an exponent, it means inverse, right? Inverse. Now the thing you gotta remember about inverse is that a function and its inverse, they swap the input and the output. That's how inverse functions work. So input is x, output is y. So what you gotta do is you start off with your function, which is y equals 2x minus 1. G is this right here, right? G of x is the same as y, it's the output. And because we're finding the inverse, these two get swapped. The input and the output are swapped. So this is no longer equal to what it was before, right? So that's not an algebraic step. That's just coming up with, that's just applying this property of inverse functions. So now we need to solve for y. So we're going to subtract 1, add 1 to both sides. And then we're going to divide by 2, and there's your inverse function. So you could write it like this if you wanted as well. X plus 1 over 2. And there we go. How many guys are 2 for 2 so far? I hope most everybody got 2 for 2. So let's see here. Yeah, Vanya, that profile picture for Hector is kind of weird. All right. Hating on Hector's profile, yes. Yeah, you know what? Oh, wow. Okay, I'm going to ignore all that. I'm going to get to work. All right, so here we go. Solve f of x equals g of x, getting your answers to 2 decimal places. So there's a clue right here that it's probably not going to be a factorable thing. So f of x, we already talked about being quadratic. And g of x is there. So we already know this is quadratic, right? And Vanya, before we get started, before we move on, I want to answer these questions as they come up. Ruben's 2 for 2. That's great. That's excellent. Vanya has a question. She wants to know about emailing the quiz. So if you're here and you grade it in real time, you just participate. You don't need to, right? It's only if you have to watch this in review like afterwards and you grade it on your own, then you need to email me just your score, okay? And that way everybody can get credit for participating and people can ask questions and we can actually learn a little bit. It's not as good as in, face to face, but everybody can learn a little bit and we can be okay. So, make sense? All right, let's get on to part C, number 1, part C. So, we're going to solve this. It's quadratic, probably not factorable, so we're going to have to use a quadratic formula. And Eddie's question, did we review number 6 on the homework for freshmen? Absolutely we did. And you can find the link to that video in Google Classroom right now. And it's going to be towards the end of the video, of course, because it's the last question, right? All right, now, let's get on to this one right here. We need to get everything on one side. We can't solve this. We can't get x isolated using inverse operations. So we need to get everything on one side. So I'm going to subtract the 2x and I'm going to add the 1. You see? It's worth 5 points. That's a lot of points. I know that a lot of you guys forgot this. You gotta know this formula right here. That quadratic formula, you can't forget it. You gotta know it. Get a tattoo. Get a tattoo of it. Then it's not cheating if you look like it's in your palm or in the back of your hand. It's not cheating. And yeah. Still having trouble with inverse functions, Mariana says. Yeah. So inverse functions, and this is where the lag kind of makes things difficult. I'm glad you asked, though. So, but the lag just makes it kind of awkward. So, because we're in the middle of something, we got to go back, which is okay. It's the best we can do for right now. With inverse functions, Mariana, the big thing, you start off with the original function, like this one right here, and you switch the x, the input, the x, and the output, the y. You switch them, and then you solve for y. Just use SADMAP, inverse operations. That's how you find it, okay? All right. Now, this one right here, it's not factorable. There's no numbers that multiply to 4 and add to -6, so we have to use the quadratic formula. So that's going to be positive 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 4 times 4 times 1. We don't really need to write times 1, right? So 36 minus 16 is 20, I hope. 36 minus 16. Yeah, 36 minus 16 is 20. So this is what we got. We could simplify that or whatever, but since we know we're going to be using a calculator, let's go ahead and use the calculator. But actually, you know what? Maybe this is a good chance to review how you would do this if you weren't using a calculator, if you were finding exact answers. So you know that the square root of 20 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 5, so that's 2 root 5. So like your two exact answers would be this, 1 plus 1 minus, right? That's reducible because you see there's 2 terms in the numerator, 1 in the denominator. You could reduce this to, it would actually be this right here, 3 plus or minus the square root of 5. Do you see you can reduce those, you can reduce those, yeah. But we weren't asked for exact, we're asked for approximate, which is decimals, to 2 decimal places. This is one that just slays me when you guys do this and you mess up 2 decimal places because it tells you right there. So, Omar has a question. I'll get to your question in just a minute, Omar. Let's go ahead and finish this up just to make sure. I know you guys don't have a calculator quite this fancy at your place, but that's okay. It's got the same function. So 6 plus the square root of 20 equals, divided by 2 equals 5.24. 2 decimal places. So we have to round to that right there. That's always a point, and people miss it. Drives me crazy because I don't want you guys to miss points like that. And then positive 0.76. Those are your 2 answers right there. Those are the 2 values for x. Now, if they were written as coordinates for x-intercepts, it would be like that. Do you see? All right. There is another way to solve this right here. There's one more way. So, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. That's a good question. Omar wanted to know, could we do another method to solve this? And I would advise not doing the other method. If you got the quadratic formula in your back pocket, you should use it. But there is another method. We could use completing the square. So let's go ahead and do it. It's a good opportunity. So you remember we're going to move the 4 to the other side because we're going to use inverse operations now. And we're going to make this a perfect square. So a perfect square, the c term has to be half of this squared. So half of b squared needs to be equal to c in order for this to be a perfect square. So that's going to be a minus 3 squared. And then over here, we're going to add it again. So we added the same thing to both sides, so it's equal, right? So this is 5, and this is going to be x minus 3 squared. You see? And then take the square root, x minus 3 equals plus or minus the square root of 5. You have two answers. So x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 5. Cool thing about that is that gives you the reduced form already. So that's kind of cool, right? Yeah. All right, now Vanya's question is, will there ever be any questions where you will be specifically asked to complete the square? Yeah, completing the square is a big deal. So they don't usually ask you just procedural stuff like that on Cambridge tests, but it's a skill you need to have because there's lots of things that are going to come up in future math where completing the square is the process you have to use. So the thing they do ask you, though, on the Cambridge test is even trickier than just doing the process. It's where they ask you a tricky question like I gave the freshmen on their homework yesterday. This one right here, where I know here I'll write it on the document camera for you, right? So you don't actually have to complete the square to answer this question, but you have to understand it in order to answer this question. You have to understand completing the square to answer that question. So this is a 3, and they were asked to figure out what the values of m and n were. So that kind of question right there, absolutely tricky. Got to understand it. So a couple other questions. I want to make sure we get them all. How do you get 2 square root of 5? Oh, well, so check this out, Johnny. Check this out here. I'm going to write on the document camera again. Let me switch over to answer your question. Johnny wanted to know, how did I get 2 square root of 5 out of this hotness right here? Well, Johnny, would you agree with me that 20 is 4 times 5? Right, that's 20. And this is also still the same. These two things right here, that's exactly the same, and I know that the square root of 4 is 2. That's how I got 2 root 5. Make sense, Johnny? Okay, next question. Yeah, I answered that. So Leah's question, can you use completing the square for the exact answer? Absolutely. You could use completing the square for the exact answer, but you could also use the quadratic formula for the exact answer. And this question right here, because B was a 6, which is, even, and A was 1, this one actually pretty simple. So completing the square wasn't too difficult on it, but a lot of the times completing the square gets really ugly, and the quadratic formula comes from completing the square anyway. So, yeah, so just do that. All right, next up, Buttercup. Hold on, let me find my paper again. So, moving on. We've got this one right here. It says, find the value of g of f of negative 2. So this is where the notation for Cambridge is different than how we do here in the United States. To us, that looks like multiply, but for them, that is composition. So they're saying plug negative 2 into f, and then take that value and plug it into g. I think the best way to do it is just to figure out what this part is right here first. So what I would do is I would really do f of negative 2. And so that's going to be negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 plus 3. So that's 4 plus 8 plus 3. So that's 12, 15, right? I hope that's 15. Let me make sure. That's positive 4, that's positive 8, that's 12, 15. Okay? So now, we have to take that 15 and we have to plug it into g. G is 2x minus 1. So it's going to be 29. Because 30 minus 1 is 29. Good to go on that? So that's 4 parts so far. Let's do our last one for number 1. It says find f of g of x. So this again is like we talked about yesterday. This is a composition of functions. So 2x minus 1 squared minus 4 times 2x minus 1 plus 3. So here's what we did. We took the function f of x and we plugged in g of x. So let me go up to the top of the page so I can show you what I mean. Here's f of x right here, right? And here's g of x right here. So we had to take 2x minus 1 and put it here and put it right there. So it was 2x minus 1 squared minus 4 parentheses 2x minus 1 plus 3. Do you see? That's what we did. So now you got to square, you got to square this, you got to distribute this, and then you got to combine like terms. So don't kill a kitten, right? Do not kill a kitten. Don't say that's 4x squared minus 1 or even plus 1. Either way, don't do that. It's 4x squared minus 4x plus 1 minus 8x plus 4 plus 3. So we got to combine like terms right here. Let's see, that is a negative 12x. So here's what I got. I got 4x squared, and then minus 12x, let's see, plus 8. And that's all you got to do. You don't have to factor that. You don't have to simplify that. I think we've done this before, actually, haven't we? At least we've done this problem. Yeah, we've done this problem before. But that's okay. So don't factor it. Don't simplify it. Or don't do anything like that. It's done. You have like terms combined. So you're good to go. All right, let's move on to the next one right here. F of x equals 10 to the power of x. Now, this is exponential. And if we get the opportunity, I'd like to introduce exponential functions to you more carefully in the future, like in this setting right here. Okay, so f of x equals 10 to the power of x. And it says, figure out what is f of 0.5. Well, isn't 0.5 1/2? 0.5 is 1/2. So this is really 10 to the power of 1/2. And that's the square root of 10. So if this was a paper 2, that would be your answer right there, square root of 10. If it was a paper 4 where you could use a calculator, well, you would have to do second square root of 10. And it's I should actually know that. 3.16. Correct. That's 3 significant figures, right? 3.16. It does say simplify though, but it is simplified. I know I misspoke this. So Ruben's objecting right now. Ruben says, hey, wait a minute. It says simplify. That is simplified because all the like terms are combined. Simplifying and factoring are different things. Now you could say 4x squared minus 3x plus 2. And you could even factor that. Is that right? Hold on, let me make sure. Take out a 4, take out a 4, take out a 4, so 3 and 2, good. So this is x minus 1 and x minus 2. So you could do that if you wanted, but you don't have to. This is just as good, and you don't have to do any more. All right. So if it says to simplify, would you take out a 4? No, if it said factor, so if it said factor, you would take the 4 out. And then you could factor this some more, right? But it doesn't say that, so you don't have to worry about it. It just says simplify. Simplify means combine like terms, all that kind of stuff. That's all you gotta do. Yeah, don't do more than it says. So if it said factor, then yes. So if it said find this and factor, you're good. But if it says simplify, you're done right here. If it says factor, you factor. Simplify there. This, to me, like the back of my head says I made a silly mistake. So let me just check to make sure this is right. So that would be 4x squared. That's good. That's negative 12x. That's good. And that's plus 8. Good. And then, let's see. Yeah, so this would be x squared. Minus 2 minus 1 is negative 3. And yeah, that's right. So that's completely factored all the way right there. So this would be right. Absolutely. This would be right here. Now, the thing you guys are really doing wrong, though, when you guys do this, I just was remembering, is what you guys do is a lot of you say, oh, this is the answer right here. Oh. Is you guys say it's this. And that would be wrong. That's wrong. This is right. When you divide the 4 out, you can't just throw it away. It's there. Do you know what I mean? It would be like saying factor 12, and you say, oh, well, 12 is 4 times 3, so it's just 3. You can't just get rid of the 4. That doesn't work. That's silliness. Does that make sense to you guys? I don't know what you mean by no point. So, like, if you did this, you would lose at least 1 point. That's right, Ruben. If you wrote this, or this, or this, all 3 of those would be okay. But the problem is, it doesn't tell you to do this. They're right because they're equal, but it's extra work. And you don't need to do it. And you're going to run out of time. So factor and simplify mean different things. Factor means break something down into its multiplicative parts. Simplify just means to combine like terms and write it in a way that makes sense. So no, Angela, it would not be wrong if you factored completely. It would be right as long as you factored correctly. But you got to make sure you write all the factors. So you have to write all the factors out. Otherwise, it would be wrong because this is wrong. This is no bueno. This is yes. This is good. These are okay too. It just didn't say to do that. And yes, if you did this or this, you would get absolute full points. No problems. Those are all good questions. All right. How many guys got the whole first page right? Let's see. The whole first page. How many guys got the whole first page right? Let's see a show of hands. I'm going to move on. I'll keep this aside in case somebody has some questions in a minute. All right. So 4. Okay, so Ruben's good now. Okay, got it. Good. All right, so for number 2, part B, if you remember, it said f of x equals 10 to the power of x. That's exponential, right? Where the exponent is the input. So 10 to the power of x is going to go really, really fast. Like if you did input-output table, man, it's going to take off. So like if you did x and y, for this you would have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So if you put a 0 here, you get a 1. If you put a 1 here, you get a 10, you get a 2, you get 100, and then 1,000, and then 10,000, and then 100,000, and then 1,000,000, and so on, right? So you guys are doing pretty good. Let's see. It looks like the come up kid made some mistakes, but he's learning from it. You're going to be all right, Johnny. Looks like a bunch of you did really, really good. And the second one, okay, yeah. So that's okay. That's okay. And George, you just missed one. That's no problem at all. That's pretty good. All right. So back on track with this one. I'm hoping that one of the things we're going to get better at, that I'll get better at, is how to pace the time so that 30-second lag isn't so weird, so it doesn't feel so back and forth. Yeah. So, because like right now, Ruben's like, wait, what? And contextually, because he just saw, whatever he just saw, I have no idea what it was. So when he says, wait, what? I don't know what's going on anymore. But that's okay. We'll get better at it. So if you have a question, I don't understand it, I'll just say, hey, I don't understand your question, and I'll ask you to be more specific, and we'll figure it out, okay? So, back on track. This one right here, f of x equals 10 to the power of x. That was 2, that was 2a. Number 2 told us this was f of x. So, and I just want to kind of talk to you about how this worked right here. So I did an input-output table. This isn't part of answering this question. However, if you think about it, we can maybe use this to figure that out. So look, it says f of -1. Write down the value of f of -1 of 1. So do you guys know what that means? That's really kind of a confusing thing. That's really confusing. So this right here is the input for the inverse. That's the input for the inverse. That means it's the output for the regular one. Do you see what I mean? So it's the output for the regular one. So what would be the input to get an output of 1 for this function? Do you see that it's 0? Input, output gets switched. That's a super, super, super tricky one. That is a super tricky question right there. All right. Oh, look at Johnny's being nice to Omar now. Just so nice. I don't even know what's going on with Mr. Crespo there. Johnny, if you were here, I'd give you some toilet paper. You know, from here forward, toilet paper is going to have a totally new meaning for the rest of all of our lives. It's going to be like the new standard of currency. So Ruben says for him it just skips to number 5. So this page number 2 wasn't there? That seems really, really strange. I'm sure you're right. I'm not doubting you. That's strange. Did anybody else not get this page? Because I just opened up the link that you guys had. Oh, it skips to number 3, so that wasn't at the top of the page. I understand. Oh, that's strange. Well, that's all right. If you didn't have that part, no problems. Don't worry about it. But it should have been there because I just printed this off of the link. I just printed this off of the link that was in the Google Classroom, so I just opened it and printed. But all right, no big deal. Whatever. Number 3. Oh, look at this. We've got for number 3. For number 3, we have. Hold on. Sorry. For number 3, we have some trig. Dang. All right. So it says f of x equals tangent of x, and g of x equals 2x plus 6. So f of x equals tangent of x. So what's the tangent of 45 degrees? Dang, anybody remember? So Vanya says, haha, Mr. Brown, you can't keep offering TP to everyone and then not come through because some of us need it. Well, actually, I think there's toilet paper in the stores now. And here's what I would suggest if you go to the store. Should avoid going to the store if you can. But if you go to the store, go in the afternoon. They're pretty slow, and you might get lucky and find some. All right, using leaves, or you could just take a shower. Or you could do like a dog on the carpet. I'm sorry. That wasn't funny. It kind of was. All right, let's get back to it, shall we? All right, so tangent of 45 degrees. So check this out. I'm going to do this on scratch paper right here. Let's say I did not have a calculator. I mean, if I do have a calculator, it's going to tell me that tangent of 45 is 1. Watch. Tangent of, as long as I'm in degrees. Yeah, I'm in degrees. So tangent of 45 is 1. Here's how I would remember that. So we got 30, 60, 90, right? So, or 30, sorry, we have 30, 45, 60, 90. And I know that the coordinate here is 1, 0. I know the coordinate here is 0, 1, right? This one right here is square root of 2 over 2 for x, and the same for y. So tangent is sine over cosine of the same angle, right? And this right here is sine, and that's cosine. So it's something divided by itself, so it's just 1. That's how I remembered. Good to go? All right. F of g of 87. So that means I got to figure out what is g of 87. So 2 times 87 plus 6. So this is going to be a 4, 174 plus 6, so 180. Well, that makes me feel confident that I did my arithmetic correctly, because we can figure out what is the tangent of 180 degrees, right? So 180 degrees. Well, over here we have a coordinate of -1, 0. So tangent is 0 over -1. Well, that's just equal to 0. Yeah. So I'm going to say that's 0. I'm going to say this is 1. I'm going to say that's 0. I'm going to use my calculator to make sure, right? So tangent of 180 degrees, 0. Boom, done. Man, 2 for 2. This trig stuff's great, right? Tortillas. Oh, yeah. So Ruben says instead of TP, he would use tortillas. Well, I would say that's a shame unless they're Mission brand tortillas, because that's all those are good for anyway, right? I don't know if they're flushable or not, but yeah. All right. Ooh, so this one's tricky. It says, oh, this one's really weird. I'm not really sure what this notate. We're gonna have to do some interpretation of what this means right here, because of the parentheses. So it says G inverse. Oh, no, I see what it says. Never mind, I apologize. See that extra set of parentheses right there? That means that f of x is the inverse for g inverse. Sorry, I misspoke. I was thinking faster than I was speaking. Let me start over. I apologize. This right here, where'd my highlighter go? This guy's right here, that's the input. F of x is the input into the inverse of g of x. So this one's tricky because before you can do this, you have to find the inverse of g of x. So switch x and y in g of x, and then solve for y, right? So like that. And that's simply, you can't reduce that. That's all the way done. So now I have to plug this into there. So it's going to be tangent of x minus 6 divided by 2. That would be the answer. That one's really pretty tricky. We have not done this problem before. I don't believe that we've ever done that problem before. So I'm going to write the answer over here. I don't think we've ever done that. Yeah. So that's a tricky one there. I want to know how you guys did on that. What questions you guys have on number 3? how you guys did. Water's good, right? All right. So, how are you guys doing on this? What questions do you have? Do you see how, and this is something that's tricky, I understand, and this is a trap that students fall into. Like, so you guys are going to have a quiz or a test, and like, like these topics in math are going to be on it. Say, functions, for example. Do you see how all of a sudden out of nowhere you could have trig in there? I mean, trigonometry, those are functions. Those are trigonometric functions. They're called sine, cosine, tangent. Have an input of an angle and output of a ratio of sides. 100% right there with functions. So you got to be careful, and you can't get too focused. Let's see. Okay, good. Man, see, I did good on that one. I paused for some time by telling you something, and you guys were able to ask questions about the problem that I'm now getting. And then by the time you see this, it's going to seem like, I don't know. Hopefully this seems less disjointed. So Paula has a question. Can you simplify number 3? Like this one right here, can I simplify this? I don't think so. Not unless everything had a common factor. So if, well, you're never going to have a tangent that's 2, but you could have one that's even maybe. A tangent value, but you're never going to have a tangent value that's 2. So no, you can't simplify this because all terms, there are 3, 2 in the numerator, 1 in the denominator, all 3 would have to have a common factor. Yeah, so Mariana says she's going to need to do some stuff with inverse. Yeah, inverse actually is not too difficult. You just got to switch it. The thing is, you just also have to make sure that when you see that negative exponent like this right here, that's telling you to find the inverse. And then you just switch the x and the y and solve for the new y. All right. Let's see. Let's move on. Johnny lost 3 points. That's not bad, Johnny. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 says there's f of x. Ooh. This is a nasty one. That's rational right there. That's a ratio, right? It's like an algebraic fraction. So it says f of 1/4. So that's 1/4 plus 3 divided by 1/4. All right. Now, I would not write this as a mixed number. I'd write it as an improper fraction. So would you guys agree with me if I said 3 is the same as 12 over 4? So this is going to be 13 over 4, and then divided by 1/4. So that's 13 over 4 times 4 over 1, which is 13. How'd you guys do on that one? Oh man, this one's tricky, and just like excuse me, just like I do in class, I try not to do the problems ahead of time, and it's not because of laziness. It's because if I've done them recently, then it's fresh in my mind, and I can't like share with you the things I'm thinking, things I'm seeing, and all those kinds of things. And it just becomes, here's how to do it, and that's it. And I don't believe that helps, because you need more. You need more of like what makes you realize what to do, and all of that kind of thing. That's why learning math from a book is really, really difficult. Okay, let's get back to it right here. Solve f of x equals 1/4. So here is what we got. And we have to solve this equation right here. This one's tricky because we have 2 x's. We got to get them together. They're both of the same power of 1. So we can use inverse operations. So nothing quadratic or anything like that. So let's go ahead and multiply both sides. Let's actually multiply both sides by 4x. 4x over 1, like this, right? X is reduced over here, right? And so you're left with 4 times that, 4x plus 12. Yeah? And over here, the 4 is reduced, and you're left with x. So now we got to get these x's together. And I don't know if you remember this or not, but it's a better idea to move the smaller coefficient. So subtract both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 12, so x equals -4. There we go. Oh, that's an ugly -4. -4. That's better. Good to go? Man, page 2, done. Page 2, done. So rational stuff, that comes up too. So it's interesting, right? We've got, even though this is a functions quiz, you also have trig in it. You have algebraic fractions, rational expressions, all that kind of stuff. Inverse operations. It's kind of tricky. All right. Now, number 5 was going to be hard. Is going to be hard for you guys to do if you didn't have a printer. And I mean, if you didn't have a printer, it's I don't know. You can kind of on the computer. You can maybe answer the first couple questions, but it might be kind of difficult to do for some of the others. So you just do your best. You take your best guess and try and see how it goes. But let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? So here's number 5. Oh, Johnny, we multiplied both sides by 4x over 1. So, Johnny, I wanted to get rid of these fractions, so I multiplied everything by the common denominator, the lowest common multiple of the denominators, which is 4x over 1. So I multiplied both sides by 4x minus 1 and reduced, and then the fractions go away. That makes life easy, see? All right. Let's get to this one right here, shall we? So it says use the graph to find f of 0. So 0 here, this is gotta be careful right here. 0 is the input, do you see? So 0 is the input, so it's asking you if the input is 0, what's the output? Well, it's right there, you see? Okay, now we gotta count. Oh, and I have trouble with this right here. So this is up to 5. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's 10 that go up to 5. Do you see? So each one is going to be, so this would be 1 right here, and this would be 2, and this would be 3, and this would be 4. Do you see what I mean? So this is definitely 3. Do you follow me? You guys good with that? So I actually have a little trouble with those because you guys, I know I've told you before, but I had a pretty bad head injury 3 years ago this April, and stuff like that, it actually can make me kind of dizzy, counting really small things like that. I have some visual acuity problems from it, but so we'll do our best, and I hope I don't pass out. I'm being dramatic there, I'm not going to pass out, but here we go. All right. So the reason I mention it is if I count wrong, just say, hey, wait, you counted that one wrong, okay? Okay, f of 8. So now the input is 8, which is right here. Do you see? And it's asking us for the output. Well, there it is right there. And that's right here, right? So, let's see. This is negative 1, negative 2, that's negative 4. Good to go? How we guys doing? How we doing on those two? Hopefully good. Okay, now these are trickier. These are asking what's the input when the output is 0. That's what this is saying. What is the input when the output is 0? Output is 0. So when y is 0, do you guys remember if y equals 0, that is the same as the x-axis. So the x-axis, so that's right here, and right here, and right here. So there's 3 inputs that give us that output. You see what I mean? 3 inputs that give us that output. This is still a function. Inputs can share a common output, but inputs can't have more than one output. So this is still a function. We're still good as far as functions go. Now we just got to figure out what are those values right here. So this would be 1, right? So between 1, 2, 3, 4. So these are 0.2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 0.2. So 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1. All right. So 1, 0.2, 0.3, no, 1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. So I'm going to say 1.6 negative. That's one answer. And that one's easy. 2 and 8.2, 4, 6, 8.6. I think those are good right there. Those are the 3. All right. And f of x equals 5. So the output's 5. Well, that's right here. And the input's going to be 9.2. I'm guessing 9.2. That's what it looks like to me. If I draw my arrow down right there, this was 9.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 10. Yeah, 9.2. Okay, so now the tricky question. There's always one, right? It says k is an integer for which f of x equals k has exactly 2 solutions. Okay? Then it says find the values of k. So like, here's the thing. Because I was being really careful to make sure I understood what the information was telling me. And then I was making sure to use that to answer the question. And that comes into play here. Because here's how Cambridge works. So, like, they're tricky. Like, they're not tricky, they're clever. If you've only been taught how to do something but you don't understand, then that's really not good. You're not going to remember. You can't build upon it. And so they don't want to reward students for that. There's some things they want you just to know how to do, but they want you to really, really understand. So they ask questions like this. If you understand, you can answer this, but if not, you're going to be confused. So remember, this is the output. Now it says there's a number where the output has exactly 2 solutions, right? So that means the y has 2 inputs for that. So check this out. That means we're going to cross twice. So I think there's going to be 2 solutions. There's going to be exactly one here and another one right here. You see what I mean? I think those are the 2 values. Huh? It's like, yeah. All right. Ruben says, wait. Just cuz or? All right. So tell me your question, Ruben. Tell me your question. It's negative 1.6 for B. It's not negative 2. So for B, this B right here, BI, f of x equals, yeah, it's right here. This is where it crosses. Right there, x equals negative 1.6. We have a positive 2 and an 8.6, but yeah, that's right. So it's not negative 2. Negative 2 would be if the graph went through right here. Do you see? I think I see why you think that might be negative 2 because it's kind of close to it. But if you count, it's negative 1.6. Yeah, for B, right? It's negative 1.6. I think. Let me check again. Like this is negative 1 right here, right? That's negative 1. So 0.2, 0.4, 0.6. Yeah, it's negative 1.6. Yep. And 2's right here because this would be negative 1.8, and that's negative 2 right there. So, yeah, it's negative 1.6. So, no, it's not negative 2. It's negative 1.6 for sure. So, on those, you got to be careful to make sure you count. It looks like the negative 2 is right next to it, but the negative 2 is actually for one of the other lines. Well, you might be blind, Reuben. I don't know. Join the club, right? Okay. So, let's go back to this one, part C right here, right? It says k is an integer, right? Where f of x equals k, and we got to find the 2 values of k. So, the 2 values of k, so it's the output where there's 2 answers. So, one of the outputs was here, and the other output is there. So, that's 4 point, were those 0.2 again? I don't remember now. So, let's see. Oh, yeah. 3. Man, I'm glad I wrote those numbers on there. Now I don't have to refigure it out. So that was 3 because it's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this one is negative 8. 3 and negative 8. If I counted right. So Angela and Ruben, you guys good on those 2? So you just looked at the graph wrong or or maybe you counted wrong. But are you guys good on those 2 now? I hope so. If not, speak up. I know it's we're moving on right now from it, but we can always go back, right? All right, almost done. Almost done. Thank you guys for your patience. I know this does not go nearly as quickly or smoothly as it does when we're in person, but I know we're making the most of it. And besides, you get to hear my beautiful voice, and sometimes when I click the little button over there, you get to see my beautiful face. Oh, yeah. I know. I have, yeah, well, whatever. Okay, so let's get to it, right? Last one, write down the range of values for x. So we have to use the same graph, the graph for this one right here. It says write down, it says write down the values for x, the range of values for x for which the graph has a negative gradient. So gradient is slope. And range, like, typically, like when it says what's the range of the function, it means what's the set of all possible outputs. But here it says the range of values of x. Do you see? So we're looking at x values here, where this graph has a negative slope. So negative slope means it's going down. It turns out actually, right here the slope is 0. Because it's positive here, it's going up, going up, going up, going up, and then it crests. It stops going up, starts going down. So from here it's actually 0, but past that it's starting to go down, going down, going down. Here it turns again, and at that exact point it's 0. The slope is exactly 0 here and there, but in between it's negative. So the values of x are going to be from 0 to 6. Here x is 0, right here x is 0, right here x is 6. So from 0 to 6 is our answer. -9. Did I say -8? Oh, I did. Ah, that's funny. It is -9. Absolutely, it's -9. I apologize. My fault entirely. You guys are right. It is -9. This one is -9, not -8. I have no idea why I said -8. As soon as I saw that you said -9, I knew it because, I don't know. Each one's worth 2. Yeah. So, I apologize. You guys are right. -9. Hopefully that's the only mistake I make in the rest of this. Almost done. So, f of x equals... Oh, that says plus. That's weird. That should say equals right there. Huh. So if that confused you, then I apologize. You could always ask me. I would have clarified it for you, and it needs to be fixed, so I'll have to pull this up and fix it. But anyway, it says f of x equals x minus... Wait. Oh, no. You know what? I got to read the whole thing before I start making assumptions like that, right? My fault. So it says f of x plus x minus 1 equals 0 can be solved by drawing a line on the grid. Write down the equation of this line. So f of x plus x minus 1 equals 0. And it says we can graph that. So I'm going to take a hunch. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take what it wrote right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the 1 and the x to the other side. Do you see? Now, this has a y-intercept of 1 and a slope of -1. So y-intercept of 1 and a slope of -1. Ah, the scales are different. You got to be careful. Yeah. So, where'd my pencil, where'd my ruler go? Let me do it this way so I can see those dots better. Huh. I think that's the line it's talking about right there. Do you see? I think that's the line it's talking about. All right. Now, write down the equation of this line. The equation of that line is going to be 1 minus x. You see? Yeah, we did. We did move it to the other side. That was my guess, and so it's working out right. So, I'm not, like, when I'm doing this for the very first time, I've not done this question before, but I've seen this type of question. And the very first time I saw this kind of question right here, I was a little confused as to what to do. So I just took a guess and said, well, why don't I try this and then see if it makes sense? And it is. It does make sense. Like, that works. And I think, if I remember right, there were 3 solutions, right? 3 places it crossed. It crossed right here, it crossed right here, and it crossed right there. So for the last, it says, how many solutions are there? There are 3. Now, typically, if they ask you for what those solutions are on a Cambridge test, that's where they're going to give you a range of values, because this line we just drew is a hand-drawn line, even though we used a ruler, and mine looks pretty good. Like, it crossed a lattice point, pretty close to a lattice point, all 3 spots. So I would say that's probably pretty good, but that's where they would give you a range of values for your answer. Okay? So that's it. That's your quiz right there. I want to know 2 things from you. How long did it take? And how did you do? You feel confident? You feel like you got this topic right here? And what other, maybe a third question that you need to answer for yourself. What of the side topics that kind of came up in this, trigonometry, algebraic fractions, quadratics, out of all those, what are you struggling with? out of all those basics. Yeah. So it's not -8, Johnny, because each line is worth a half. So, yeah, it's -9. So anyway, man, I do miss being in class. I miss seeing you guys. And I really enjoy your class. I was thinking about it last night. I was thinking about why I have so much fun with you guys in particular. And you guys have good senses of humor. You have a good attitude. You like help each other. You have a good, healthy amount of like competition between each other. But it's never nasty. It's always uplifting to each other. And you're hardworking. And that's why you guys are like killing it. So anyway, I've always been really proud of how you guys have done since the beginning of last year. I've been very, very excited about how things are going to turn out. I've been very proud of how you guys conduct yourselves, and I miss being in class. So, yeah. So, do I count the one that? Nah. Ruben wants to know if you should count the one that didn't print wrong. No, that's okay. It was probably out of the boundaries on your printer margins, so don't even worry about it. You can just give yourself, you can just count it out of how many you did. Make sense? Yeah, so yeah, it took about an hour. Whereas like in class, if we were going over this, it'd probably take 20 minutes, but that's okay. Yeah. So I want to know any comments, concerns. How's everything? If you guys need something, like you or your family needs something, send an email to me and I'll forward it to... I'll either see if I can get you guys hooked up with what you need, or I'll send you to... I'll send it on to somebody that maybe can find you guys some help. This is a new normal for a while, it looks like. And yeah, we'll get through it. We'll be all right. We'll come out the other side. We'll be okay. How many points was it out of? I don't know. You'd have to count them up. And I'm not very good at counting, Vanya. Actually, I already threw it in the trash. 3 points off is like an excellent score, because I missed one, right? So it may have been worth 1 or 2 points. I don't remember. 1 or 2 points, but inverse functions, Danitza. You're not the only one that said you need to work on inverse functions. Maybe we'll do a quick little review on inverse functions here in the near future, because there's several people that have stated they're having trouble with inverse functions. All right. How many guys are working to kind of have a regular routine? Like you get up in the morning, even though it's early and you don't want to, and you get breakfast, you get dressed, you do your stuff, you go get lunch. Because if you do, it's going to help you kind of stay a little more sane, even though you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. I don't want to get up early. But if you do that, you're going to be a lot better off. And then it's easier when we do go back. But it's like we have to have purpose in life. We have to have something we're doing, something that we feel is important. Because when you don't have that, when you lose that, you kind of go nuts. You see it a lot in people that are like super rich that don't have to work. Younger people especially, they go crazy. They do some wild stuff because they have to make up something that's important. Johnny, you just missed 9. That's not bad at all. And George, only 5. Hey, you guys are doing killer. You guys are doing good. I'm really good. I'm really good with how you guys are doing. And yeah, all right. Well, once again, if you guys need something, send an email. Like it doesn't have to be in the Google Classroom, because it doesn't need to be anybody's business. But if you need something, I'd like to see if we can find you guys some help for whatever you need. So if you're at a TP, maybe the school can help us figure out how to deliver TP, or maybe I don't know. We'll figure out something. I don't have very much, but it's starting to show up. Maybe if you do, maybe we could find out what stores have it and things like that and whatever. So Paula says range and drawing lines to find solutions. Yeah, so the thing about this range is it's not actually range like what's the range of the function. It's just understanding what it's saying. It says what's the range of values for x. So it's looking for what are all the numbers for x that would fit this. And that's a tricky question. And then drawing lines to find solutions, that's something that it's hard to practice like this, and if you don't have a printer, then it's really difficult. Leah says, my desk is a mess and my computer cables And highlighters and pencils are everywhere. Yeah, mine too. And I usually keep, so like here at my house, I usually keep my desk spotless, like dusted and clean. And it is a disaster. There's things everywhere. I got a pile of books that I brought home over here so I can come up with practice problems for you guys if I need to. I got, yeah, there's just junk everywhere, but that's okay. And then, yeah, the range one is tricky. Mariana missed that. And yeah, because so you gotta be really careful with that one, Mariana. It's not asking for the range of the function. It's asking for the range of values of x where this certain condition is met. Yeah. That's exactly right. Hector's like, you have to understand what it's asking, or I don't know if he's saying that, but maybe he's saying he's having trouble understanding what it's asking, and that's absolutely the most difficult and tricky thing about, I think, the most difficult and tricky thing about most of the Cambridge questions. Most of them, if you have a clear idea of what it's asking you, then you're okay. If you can find clarity and you can make sense of the information, you're good. And they don't say things in a tricky way. They just say them like specifically exactly what they want, and for some reason that confuses us. So anyway, it's been that was kind of a long review, but that's all right. And as for what we're going to do later today, man, one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of start off with something new with finding domain of a function, some stuff you're not used to, but I don't really have anything in place yet. And so I'm going to eat lunch and I'm going to figure out if we're just going to continue on with like another review like this, or if we're going to start with something new. It kind of depends on what I can come up with right now, but we'll figure it out. Either way, I will post. Probably won't be if it's new, it'll be a live video. If it's something review, it won't be. I'm thinking it won't be. We might do something new tomorrow. And then Monday we can review. Like I'll give you some practice, and on Monday we can go over that. So anyway, hope you guys are all well. Hope you're staying out of trouble. Life's good, and I hope we get to go back to school and I get to see you guys face to face here pretty quick. Yeah. So Mariana, I don't know if we're going to be live this afternoon or not. If we do, it'll be at I think we agreed that it was going to be 2:00, but we'll see. We'll see. I'll figure that out. I'll let you know. I'll let you guys know ahead of time. Just kind of waiting for the lag to see if that makes sense before we before I go ahead and log off. All right. Well, you guys have a good afternoon. Enjoy your lunch. It's 11:42. I'm hungry, man. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Okay.